Okay, so I'm going to start talking about the Netflix docu-series. Unfortunately, it's a series. I think there's like 3 episodes. That the Depp H.U.G.S trial from a year and a half ago. As sick as I am of hearing about this trial, I'm watching this out of sheer morbid curiosity because I watched the trial itself. I remember having my earplugs in or my headphones on one ear and off the other so I could still keep an eye on the kids. Oh, it was 6 weeks of all day trying to get stuff done and being glued to that. I watched mine through Law and Crime Network on YouTube. Anyways, and I want to talk slowly because I want to get my thoughts out carefully. I've seen others commenting on how, whether it's Netflix or the mainstream media in general, is trying to paint Johnny Depp again in a bad light, or trying to help out Amber Heard by showing their testimonies side by side. Now, I've only watched the first episode. I don't think I can emotionally or mentally handle watching all 3 at once again, because I watched the trial and I'm still like, it's like this. It's like we're living in Groundhog Day and it just don't go away. One reason I'm watching it is because Darth is on there from Darth News. And check the description box below for a link to his channel. And he's actually featured a lot. And as is Emily D. Baker and that DUI guy and just a host of others. But Darth, I'm telling you, it may as well have been called the Darth News docu-series, at least for episode 1 from what I've seen so far. But you go, Darth. And I think, my personal opinion is that Darth, the DUI guy, those folks that showed up at the courthouse had better coverage than did the media that was there, because they had literal front row seats and inside, you know, information to the fans, and I could bring us all of that, and they could bring us fan reaction and everything. And that's a little bit of what the docuseries is showing too, is some of the fan reaction. I'm gonna be ordering my dinner soon. Starving. And okay, so what I'm seeing with them showing the testimonies side by side and them both answering basically the same questions is, to me, it really looks, you can really see how Amber Heard seems to be struggling to keep her lies straight. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, you can just see the confusion on her face and her over exaggeration of her expressions, and like Darth said, she was acting. You know, and when Johnny answers, he's thoughtful about his answers, but you can tell that he's honest, and you can tell that the whole thing was just hurting him. But he wanted that trial, and so he had a purpose for being there. I don't think it was ever to, I don't think he really, like someone else said, I don't think he intended to win the trial. I think, like he said, if y'all remember him saying, win or lose, he felt like the damage had been done. But I think he was trying to clear his name in the public's eye. And I think the fan support that showed up spoke for itself. And Amber Heard's lack of fan support spoke for itself. All right, guys, let me pick up where I finished off here. I have my notes, so I should be able to keep this relatively short. So the docu-series has, I believe, it's 3 episodes, like I said before. It's the first one is the only one I've seen so far, and it's about 48 minutes long. So they really, I feel like they really intend on going through this entire trial again. I don't have the stomach for that. But I hope at least JD is making some money off of it. I know that at least some of the YouTubers whose footage they used made money off of it, which is good for them. The trial took place here in my home state of Virginia, um, in Fairfax. So someone asked, why was it held here in Virginia? Um, well, one, because the op-ed, Amber Heard's op-ed was written in the Washington Post, and they have the Washington Post has servers here in Virginia, so that's part of it. And I agree with, there was someone I saw that I don't remember who it was now, but I think this is actually part. It was somewhere in the docu-series. I think about 8 minutes and 50 seconds in, this guy was saying, Johnny Depp's lawyers were brilliant because the defamation laws here were more in his favor. That's definitely for certain. So anyway, so let's see, what else did I jot down from that? I was writing those. I'm watching and writing because I know how busy I get and I forget stuff. So let's see, folks that didn't or couldn't watch the trial might get to see the docu-series. But I do want to caution you, if you didn't watch the trial, don't watch the docu-series first. I know it'd be hard not to because they try to sum things up, but I personally believe the docu-series is going to be a little biased. I can already see some of that bias. I would go watch it on the Law and Crime Network, in its entirety, 6 weeks of it, for yourself. And that way, if you haven't seen it, then you can make up your own mind. I don't know who hasn't seen it. Have you seen it? Did you watch the trial? Are you watching the docu-series? But definitely don't believe any of the bias that might come across in the docu-series. Mainstream media has never been on Johnny Depp's side, which kind of makes me wonder, why are they doing this docu-series now? Are they trying to help Amber Heard? Are they? Why do they keep bringing this up? Somebody answer that for me. Is it just a cash cow that keeps on giving? It turns my stomach. They keep on talking about it. Oh, but Dreama, you're doing a YouTube video about it. Out of sheer morbid curiosity, am I watching this docuseries? And I don't make any money off of this. I am not monetized. So that clears that up. All right. So it opens up with the DUI guy arriving at the courthouse. And then there's then Darth News comes in. And like I said before, I think that the YouTubers who were at the courthouse gave us some of the best coverage of this trial, better than any mainstream media that was there, because they were like at ground zero, so to speak. I remember Darth even did sort of an interview chat with an Amber Heard fan, and they were talking like civilized human beings, about why each believed the way that they did. So But so far as I can tell, I think this docuseries is going to be focused on um, the media circus that surrounded it, the fans' reactions. Um, Emily D. Baker was featured, like I said before, along with Rakita Law, that umbrella guy, and a host of others. That umbrella guy, I didn't really see him in episode one except for like a glimpse of maybe where he was duetting on a live stream with someone. I think it might have been Rakita Law. And that was just like a blip. Um, Darth and Emily Baker were featured a bit, quite a bit on in the episode one. So someone in the docuseries asked why were we allowed to even view this case so intimately? And that's a really good question. Um, because the judge allowed it, they said. Um, I kind of feel like Judge Penny allowed it because she knew it was going to be so high profile, and maybe that was a way to protect herself. You know, maybe it's a way to protect herself from people claiming she was biased or did or said something wrong. I think Amber tried to claim that mess anyways, didn't she? But then folks could see it for themselves, and so I applaud Judge Penny for that. Um, the docuseries featured fans who uploaded TikToks. I think there's going to be a lot of TikToks shown throughout this series from all over the world and their reactions. And I'm just wondering if Johnny Depp has seen any of the reactions before, if he even watches this docuseries. I think out of curiosity, if I were Johnny Depp, I'd watch it just out of curiosity. You know, that it might be the first time that he sees some of the fan reactions to watching the trial, and just at what extent, what links fans went through so they could watch the trial. There was one lady trying to wash dishes and clean up and shop, and people, like I said, for me, I was trying to run my daycare, and I was like this with my headphones. I had it on one ear and off the other, so I could keep up with the kids and keep up with what I was doing. Even if I wasn't near the computer, I could still hear it. It was crazy. It had us. Um, so yeah, there was a lot of TikToks uploaded. Yeah, from all over the world. So let's see, what else did I write down? If you watch the trial, you really aren't going to see anything new in this docu-series except the fan reactions, which I find quite entertaining because we can relate. You can relate to the fans' reactions because we were having the same reactions, and I'm kind of relieved to know that I wasn't the only one going, oh, and covering my mouth and shaking my head and all this. Oh, I was talking to the freaking computer screen. Yeah. I was fussing sometimes out loud. Before I go further on this, I wanna mention, you know, oh, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name right now. I think there's a couple. I think Emily D. Baker is too, going through the sidebars with us, the transcripts of the. Did you know? Apparently, when they were doing the sidebars and they cut the sound of the trial, they were blasting white noise into the courthouse, so they couldn't hear what was being said at the sidebars. But the court clerk, she could, and she was putting it all down. So all that goes into the transcript. So then we get to see what was being said up at the judge's podium desk. Um, and that does bring a lot of stuff. That does kind of fill in a few gaps as to why this happened or that happened, and just filled in some curiosity spots for me. And the docu-series, unfortunately, goes to a lot of trouble of reminding us. They spent a lot of time reminding us how Johnny and Amber met on the Rum Diary, the set of the Rum Diary, and how that shower scene kiss was for real. And I will not watch the Rum Diary, have not watched the Rum Diary, um, because of this, because that is where it all started. was with that. And it's just like the beginning of what he would call the madness of it all. So I just can't watch it. Um, like I said, Darth was featured quite a bit. Um, they also spent a lot of time. I didn't realize this during the trial, but they spent a lot of time talking about the poop that Amber left on Johnny's bed. And you could just see Johnny's face during the whole talking about it, how ridiculous and how seriously insane it all was. But to me, hearing their testimony again and seeing them side by side answering basically the same questions, it just reaffirms for me what a liar Amber is. Um, and I was reminded, and you'll see from this episode 1, that someone who is supposedly afraid of her abuser, Amber herself did and said a lot of things to Johnny, very uncharacteristic of an abuse victim, but rather as an abuser herself. She gives him a knife. She's screaming and yelling at him and smacking him and hitting him, um, and that's actually very characteristic of a narcissist. And those actions actually come out of fear. The narcissist cannot stand the thought of being abandoned, and so all of that, her screaming and yelling and hitting him was actually the narcissist being afraid of being abandoned, because she knew her mask had come off and he had had enough. Um, and then the first episode ends with a Darth clip of him saying, Amber Heard is funny stuff. Darth was a very welcome comedic relief in all of that trial. I mean, there's some funny moments in the trial, but Darth put his presentation together in such a way that made us laugh, and you know reminded us that these it was all just crazy. Now, there was one person who said that she said that and you'll see this in the episode 1, excuse me, that she would argue that it was a PR stunt, that the whole thing was just more of a PR stunt. Um, I'd be lying if I didn't say that thought crossed my mind once or twice during the trial. Like, it was just so crazy. Excuse me. It was just so crazy, the whole thing. And all these people were allowed to go into the courtroom. These cameras were there. Excuse me. Tickle. And so, I mean, I had moments where I thought, this is great PR. I wasn't mad. I was just like, this is great PR. You know, what a way to get yourself back out there. um, but I don't think Johnny's intentions were, you know, that that malicious. I think, or that deceiving. I think he seriously um, just wanted to clear his name. I definitely am of the opinion that I don't think he cared if he won or lost. Like he said, win or lose, that damage was done, or so he thought. But he just wanted to clear his name in the public's eye. He really cared what and does care what the public thinks of him. He doesn't care what Hollywood thinks of him. He he cares what his fans think of him, and I think he didn't want his fans believing something so horrific about him or his friends, you know. Um, so he had to get it all out there and air all his dirty laundry. I mean, he was quite vulnerable. And to be such a private individual his whole life, really, to be such an introvert, I think it must have been really hard for him, knowing that some terrible things were going to be said about him to the whole world. And he just had to sit there and take it and just sit there and listen to all the stuff being said about him. And he did it because I guess he felt like the world needed to see Amber's crazy. We needed to see all her crazy, and we sure did. I ain't never believe her from the get go, anyways. Oh God, we got to relive this. Oh my God! And whether you watch the docuseries or not, you're gonna be, especially if you're a Johnny Depp fan, you're it's gonna come across your Instagram feeds and your Twitter or whatever the heck X feed, whatever that is now. And look, Elon, get it together, man. What are you doing with Twitter? That's a whole nother. Anyway, um, but yeah, I you're gonna come across it whether you watch it or not. So, do I recommend it, Andrew, my friend? Out of morbid curiosity, I would say to watch it. Um, Vanity Fair says that it's not trying to sway your opinion. Mm, I don't know if it's trying to sway your opinion so much as Netflix is trying to cash in, just like many people have been doing since it started. And that's my opinion about that. So, uh, but if you're curious about the fans' reactions and things like that, and maybe you didn't watch the trial, give it a look. See, just don't let that be all you watch. If you're gonna watch that, then you got to be fair and go and watch the trial itself, or else you're really not going to understand the docuseries anyways. So, and I want to personally thank the YouTubers that did go to Fairfax and that were there every day and that did bring us all of the inside coverage and reactions from the fans. I really appreciate it. I really do. I never watched a bit of mainstream media during that whole time. I watched Law and Crime Network for the trial and usually Emily D. Baker or Darth News or DUI Guy and maybe one or two others to get a sense of what was really going on. So, God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you after I watch episode 2. God bless.